Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of IPA Sessions. As always, we have another talented artist on the show. This is Jah Prester. He has a brand new album out right now called Love and Lust. I highly recommend checking it out. This guy was really great to talk to. He is a music artist of diverse genres. And I think you'll get a real treat out of the conversation. And of course, his new album that's streaming on all music platforms and Spotify. Go check it out right now. Welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. As always, I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and today I have a very special guest. He is a music artist of diverse genres. He has a brand new single out right now. It's been out since actually July, called Love and Lust, and it continues to grow on Spotify and all music platforms. Do yourself a favor, pause this podcast right now. Go check out Love and Lust by Jah Prester. So I'm excited to bring to the show Jah. Say hi, man.
How you doing, guys? How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm really glad you took the time to come on. Special thanks to Dom for hooking us up as always. He's amazing and hooks me up with so many talented artists.
Amazing, yeah.
But I want to know about you. I don't care about Dom. We talk to Dom all the time. Tell me about Jah Prester. Who is Jah? What do you do, man?
Man, as you said, my name is Jah Prester. I'm from New York. I'm a Queens kid, born and raised, and I make music, man. I just love creating. From a young age, I've always been a creative kid. First starting off actually drawing, then I fell in love with Michael Jackson. I watched a live performance of his on TV with my cousin. And I was like, yo, who's that girl over there? And they were like, nah, that's Michael Jackson. I said, okay. And then she put me on to Thriller, and I saw a different Michael Jackson. I'm like, that's not Michael. And, from there, just that fascination with just the way he created the short films, the way he went through and just composed his music, just fell in love. And then for me being a '01 baby, I grew up with Chris Brown. So you got to the Chris Browns, and you get to the Ushers, and then you get to the Drakes and of them all. So, history's written there. So, I fell in love with it. And from there, I just continue to try and tap into it as much as possible.
That's awesome. I mean, who didn't grow up on Michael Jackson? I'm a little older, but Thriller was my first introduction as well. And like you said, I love the movies that he used to make because it was a cinematic viewing experience. It may have been a 4-minute song, but it was a 30-minute video every time.
Man.
I mean, John Landis directed Thriller, and he was the king of pop, but he like you was so diverse with the genre of pop music that he had a rock song with Bad, and he actually had actual guitarists from other rock bands playing with him. So it's very diverse, and I can see how that was very influential. I was a teen around the time you were born, but I understand the love for early Chris Brown and Drake when they were coming out and getting started.
Even now, I think for me, my three inspirations would be Michael, Aaliyah, and Chris Brown. And for me, as we said, everybody knows Michael's diverse. Michael is the king of pop. There's no topping Michael. There's no conversation past that. But as far as Aaliyah and Chris Brown goes, they had a really well R&B and hip hop fusion that I really did enjoy. And Chris Brown took it even further with, pop, the Afro beats, the trap musics, the EDMs. And, for me, being the person that likes to just create and do things my way. Because being from New York, you got to stand out. You have the want to be different, especially because, everybody in New York, generally speaking, is striving. It's a competitive city. So
very much.
with that being
said,
Apple. Exactly. So you want to do everything so different, and you want to do everything better than the last, and you try to do it every time. And just with the three names just given, you can see where in my music, especially in the way I craft my songs, how, you know, I take my inspirations and I, put them in my way, in my template, and I make it work for me. You know?
Right. And I love that you mentioned Aaliyah. A lot of folks
Yeah.
tend to forget about her, but she gave us so much in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Imagine how much more she could have given us if, unfortunately, if fortunately things had turned out
I'm about to
better,
say I
or
got a lot of
unfortunately
hot
things did
takes
not.
about that one, but
Yeah.
I got a lot of
Yeah.
hot takes for that one, but
She was a gift.
yeah,
Um,
she was.
But speaking of gifts, let's lighten the mood here. You have your new single out right now. It's called "Love and Lust."
Yeah.
Take me through that whole process for you. What was that like creating it and getting it out there, and what's behind it all?
So Love and Lust for me is, it's a 8 song EP, and essentially it's pretty self-explanatory. Love and Lust for me, I think every guy, especially young guy, goes through this. You go from high school to maybe your mid 20s and some kind of trying to learn the difference between love and lust. And some guys end up having it where it's, you think you love somebody, but you might just have lust for them, and it's, masked, and it's, camouflaged. And you don't know until you really love that one girl that you love. When you meet her, you see her, you're just like, yo, I'm doing everything in the world for this girl, and it's one of those things where for me, in the process of creating it, I wanted to make sure that I took specific situations in my life, because I knew if I'm not the only one that going through it, you know. And for anybody who's out there who kind of been through the same things that I have been, then it helps them too. Something that they can listen to, something where they could go, hey, that's me too. Like the first track, we started off with, it's called Thinking About You. And the first track essentially is about, you know, sounds pretty self-explanatory, but it's I'm thinking about 2 girls. And I'm like, I like this girl, but I also like this girl, but I like them for very different reasons. Which one do I really like? Which one do I really love? And who am I lusting for? And you have songs like Real Woman, where it's I'm
Great song.
showing adoration towards a specific girl, and that girl is literally like, I'm just enamored by everything she does. Like, it doesn't matter. She can walk, I'm in love. She can talk, I'm in love. She can just sit there, I'm in love. She can yell at me, and I'm in love. So it's one of those
Nice.
things where we it's just delving into different areas, and then we have songs, that are a little bit more grown in, topics where you get go back in time or something about you. These are songs where you speak into more intimate moments, things that describe lust in a different way. And like I said, that's they're all based off of experiences that I've actually had, and they're also experiences that I believe other people have had, and I feel like people don't talk about much, especially in our generation. Well, in my generation, we don't talk about the love part, enough. We don't talk about the emotional things enough. I think we
Like
spend more
actually opening
time.
yourself up.
Exactly. I don't think we value the sensitivity that R&B and such had back in the 80s, 90s. The whole, we all joke about it now, but the singing in the desert, like Boys to Men used to do, or the whole stretching your arms and grabbing the air,
The
it's one of
air
those things.
hugs.
Exactly. It's just one of those things where we don't do that anymore. It's like, and this may be a hot take, but it's like guys are not in love with women no more. You just talk about money, drugs, cars, and just a bunch of nothing.
It's
We
the
talk about a
lust
bunch of
part.
nothing. Exactly. We talk more about the lust, but we don't talk about the love. And I feel like there's a healthy medium that needs to be had, where it's the amount of times that you lust. I'm sure there's the same time you've loved. You know. So
I love that, man. Literally, I love that. That's great. And Real Woman was a really great song. I
thank you,
enjoyed
thank you,
that.
thank
And
you.
I owe you an apology, and to the listeners out there, I'm so sorry. I said that Love and Lust was your new single, and it's not a single, it's a part of the EP, so I
Yeah.
apologize. But Love and Lust is a title in the song in the EP as well, correct?
It's just the name of the
Of that.
EP. The
Okay.
every song that's in there, all the Real Woman is a single in there.
Yeah.
Another single that came out would be Too Late. Too
Too late,
Late,
yeah.
yeah, Too Late is more of a I would say it has an intimate level to it, but it's nothing. It doesn't go too crazy. We get there, but then we stop and we like, we're not gonna do that to y'all. You got other songs for that, you know. So it's a
Well,
little serious.
I do apologize. I'm
It's
so
alright.
sorry. I thought that it was a single. That's my fault. And it's funny because I listened to all the songs in there, and it's like I don't remember Love and Lust. Did I miss this new single? Now I realize where I went wrong. So, but I'm glad you're here to break it all down for us.
Of course.
So you made a full 8 song album basically. Um,
Yeah.
what was that like? How long did it all take to come together? And when you have the time, could you take us through the technical walkthrough of everything? Like, what did you use as an independent artist to record and edit everything and put it out there on the music platforms?
I'll talk about that last part real quick. The distribution process was, I went through DistroKid and I switched over to TuneCore. DistroKid and TuneCore, they're both very, very good distribution services. However, it depends on what exactly you want out of your distribution service. TuneCore provides publishing. DistroKid doesn't. For the moment, I do believe they're making an update where they will start publishing for you. So,
Okay.
but it's easy. You go in, put in your titles, put in your artwork, put in your cover for your page, for your project, and then from there you pretty much add in your audios, and from there you're green, you're golden, and
Right.
you get to go through all streaming services usually. Um, the most you got to do, you can schedule your projects, there's so much you can do with it that I personally don't even think I've figured out everything that I could do with them. So, like
Well, I
I
mean, this
personally
is
don't think I have.
right. And this
So
is why I love having different artists on here, especially with all the musicians. Every musician I've had on, which I've had a ton, you guys all have your own unique way about getting your work out there.
yeah,
And once again, you're probably my 10th or 12th musician I've had on the show, and you taught me something I haven't known about yet, which is TuneCore. I don't believe I've heard of TuneCore. I do think someone previously discussed DistroKit.
yeah,
Um, I appreciate you sharing that because there's other artists out there just like you that have that passion, that drive, and they want to
yeah.
stand out. And they're just like, how do I go about it? So I appreciate you sharing that part of the journey with us.
No, yeah, of
Now,
course.
tell us why you decided to do this album and take us through the whole timeline of everything for you.
So I've been writing since I was so all right, unofficially, I've been writing since I was like 10, unofficially.
Fair.
But the moments where I felt like I actually tried and I actually cared about doing it was when I was about 14, 15. And I was always singing as a kid. So it didn't matter where I was. When your family kind of hit you with the, hey, shut up, we're not trying to hear that right now. Boom, boom, boom. But I would do it anyway. I was extra. I was, always outgoing. And when I made it to school, um, I just enjoyed. I enjoyed being the star in a way. Like for me, I'd be the person. I was class clown. Like we're just gonna put it simple. So my teacher could yell at me about something. I'll sing a response to be funny. And
You
when
like
it
the
came to
spotlight.
pretty much, when it came to school performances, if any, as long as I was interested and I was engaged, I would put effort into it. If I wasn't, they weren't getting it. I was stubborn that way. And when it got to about 2019 when I got to college is when I finally decided, you know what, I want to record. And but I struggled because I never knew the first thing about recording. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't have anybody to show me up until I got to college. And when I tried to record my first song, I was not I wasn't prepared because I didn't know what was going on. For me, some artists like to listen to themselves back while they're singing. I learned that that's not me. But in that moment, I felt like it was a requirement because it wasn't told to me like, hey, you could do it
Yeah.
this way. And that's another thing I would like, other artists to know. Your process is yours. Find your process, find what sticks, and from there keep going.
Yeah. Like a
Because
trial and
that's
error.
where exactly. Because it took me a lot of trial and error. Out of the 8 songs that I chose for this, there's 150 others. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice.
There's actually like
Okay.
150 others, and you know, by the time 2020 happened, I went through a breakup. I was mad. I was hurt. I was upset, and
Not to mention the COVID era.
yeah, it was just the COVID stuff didn't make it any better, but it was the fact that I was always writing, and I used my mom had passed when I was in 2016, so I would
Mhm.
write to cope most times, and I would always write it as I would always a lot of times write my songs as if it was like another girl. And granted, there were other girls in school that I would talk to, sing, to, and whatever else, but generally speaking, a lot of my more sad and depressing songs had to do with more so my mom, not me losing my mom. And when I got to 2020, my friend was like, "Yo, I'm tired of you writing all day. I'm tired of you just talking about it, and I'm tired of just listening to you sing. If you're not gonna do nothing with it, shut up." And I was like, "I don't know where to go. I don't know this. I don't know that." And he was like, "All right, I'll pay half of the studio session. You pay the other half, and I will just go with you. You can just record whatever you want. I don't even care." He's like, "If you need help or you want something, boom, we'll do it." Never forget that. My brother Chris, always looked out. We did it. We got like a 10-hour session, and I was just in there recording. Hated every song that I made in that moment. Hated it. Hated it. Not gonna lie, hated it. But it was my first time in the studio.
So it was a great experience. Just hated the outcome.
Man, actually, for me personally, so my first experience in the studio was me, my friend Chris, but we had a bunch of other people there. And I learned that for me, I don't like to record with a group of people unless it's people that I feel comfortable being vulnerable with. And that's another thing for other artists. Your process is your process. If you like a bunch of people in there, you have a bunch of people. If you just want to be the only person in there with your engineer, be the only person in there with your engineer. It's something that you have to figure out though. And I figured out very quickly that that's not what I wanted. I do not want groups of people. I went back the next time after, my friends was like, nah, that's not even that bad. Boom, 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 boom. You just gotta clean this up, clean this up. I was like, whatever, whatever, whatever. Then I was like, you know what? I really like this. Somebody gotta be the new king of pop. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me go ahead and try this again. Tried it again, enjoyed myself, loved it. After that, I would be in the studio for weeks, 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 weeks. I would go in every week after I get my check, run to the studio. Get my check, run to the studio, run to the studio, run to the studio. Initially, I had a project. Initially, the project was going to be a 12-song project called "Letter to Her." When I listened to it, and I always formatted everything as a project. For why? Don't know. I just always had
It's your
in my
process.
yeah. I just always in my head said, if this doesn't sound like a complete story, I don't want to put it out. And that stuck with me, and stuck with me up until this release. And when we got to that point, it did not feel like a complete story. It didn't, and this is back in 2020. We're in 2024, and this is the time I released it. So as you can see, there was a lot of trial and error in terms of building, the sound that I wanted, building what kind of artist that I want to be, understanding, who I wanted to be in these, who I wanted to portray myself to be. Because at the end of the day, I think people also forget that when you're an artist, you're also in a different persona, because you are giving a, a part of yourself, but you're not really 100% yourself all the time. And I think people also have to remember that as well. You're going to give a part of yourself that you may not have explored, or you may not have let other people explore about you. And with that being said, I was being an R&B artist. You tend to be more you're giving more sensitive information about yourself. You're letting people know, yo, I broke down and I hurt over here, or I feel like this, or I feel like that, or I want this, or I love this, or. And with
That's
that
where
being
the soul
said,
comes in.
exactly. So, with that being said, it was something that I also needed to figure out, what part of me that I want to show. And when I finally figured it out, um, I managed to just get a project that sounded full. It sounded like it made sense. And even with the track list, if you go through and you actually look at the way the track list is set up, from Thinking About You being the first song all the way down to the last song being Waiting for You, the first song is me talking about me deciding between two women. I'm blatantly saying it, I'm in love with y'all both. And, you can love more than one person, I believe, but I think there's a form of love that is, stronger than another. There's, obviously the romantic, you know, I want to be with you for the rest of my life love. And then there's the I love you for the moment kind of love, and
It's
in
that
throughout the
friendship and that relationship. Which one is,
exactly.
yeah, the
So
deeper connection.
exactly. Like, do I enjoy your company? I enjoy doing these things with you, but is it something I want to do with you forever? And, from, like I said, Thinking About You being basically just me expressing, to women, to Waiting for You being, I'm telling the one girl that I know now that I love, I've been waiting for you. Like, you're the person I've been waiting for. And the journey from top to bottom. And honestly speaking, at first, when I released the project, it was more so, it felt full, but I also actually was highly scared. I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was scared mostly because this is the version of myself that people don't know. And I'm a very, very, very big I'm my hardest critic. You are always your own worst critic. Like, you're going to beat yourself up for every little detail. But what made me really, really appreciate the project more was the fact that initially I wanted it to come out on the 11th. It didn't get to. It came out on the 16th. And when it came out on the 16th, that was the anniversary of actually my mom's passing. So it was poetic for me. And then on top of that, my friend heard it. I let my friend hear it early, so you got to get your feelers out in them
Right.
early. And this is one of my friends where it's hard to impress, and I hate people like that. Just it's so hard to impress you, yo. Oh my god, like nothing is ever good enough.
Right. You should meet my friend Lexi. I understand.
And he called me. He called me. I just saw a bunch of notifications coming in. I didn't get to look at it. I was busy doing something in the house. And he called me because I didn't answer fast enough. And he called me and he goes, yo, don't stop. I was like, what you mean? He explained to me, all the songs that he loved, all the songs that he related to, what it made him feel. And it told me that I conveyed the message that I wanted to convey properly. And if there's one person like that, that means there's 100 people like that somewhere. And if there's 100 people that are like that, that means there's 1,000 more. And then if there's 1,000 more, it keeps growing. And hopefully, you just have to make it to those audiences.
Right. You kind
And
of got that confirmation in a way
exactly
beforehand.
that confirmation was like it. It meant everything. Mostly because of the fact that, like I said, I'm from New York. It's a hard city to live in, and being soft isn't something that you can do. And when you sing or you do R&B and the type of R&B that I'm doing, your scene is soft, and that's something where it's hard to do. You can't just walk the streets and be, oh yeah, oh I love, boom, 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 love and peace kind of thing. You can't really do that. It's more like you could feel it, you could have it, but you can't convey it that way. You can't be sensitive with your words. You can't be scarce in your attempts either. It's just very complex and difficult. And with that being said, it was something that I made sure that I wanted to show. Like, yo, nah, forget that. I'm breaking from the norm, and I'm showing you something that isn't normal. When you think of New York, you're not thinking of R&B artists. You're thinking of rappers. You're thinking of Pop Smoke. You're thinking about A Boogies. You're thinking about Lil TJs and such. I want to make it where we go back to when you think of New York artists, you think of versatility, you think, the rappers, but you also think of the Alicia Keys, you think of the Keith Sweats and such. You get other types of genres. It's not just the rap. Granted, I'm sure New York is always going to be popular for the hip hop. It's just, I think, what it is, but we have other talents there too. And I would love for other people to see it.
That's awesome. Uh, you know, uh, I want to ask you too, for the technical aspect of everything, how you went about recording. And from what you've told me, it sounds like you worked your ass off at your 9 to 5 job to get the money together to go to a studio. So is this entire thing recorded in a studio with studio professionals?
Um, so no, actually, and it's funny. Um, now I gotta actually think.
It's okay. I edit, so don't worry. I'll make you look good.
Don't worry about it. So it's funny actually. Only three of the songs on there are of me recording in the studio. Only three.
Okay.
The other five are actually songs that I at first recorded at home, and then I sent it to an engineer, and they worked their magic however they could.
That's cool.
So yeah, so I
So you had
learned
a third party in a way.
in a way, yeah. So because I unfortunately don't know how to mix and master. It's a skill that I want to learn, but
You're
play
the
to your
singer. It's all
strengths.
good.
Exactly, yeah. Play to your strengths, and I tend to play to my strengths, and I'm more of the performer. I'm more of the doer versus the technical aspect of like, going in, moving these, buttons, doing this. I'm not really that person when it comes to this. That's not the creative portion that I've taken interest to at that time. So going into the studio, I don't want to say professionals where you think of, because I know most people think I'm sitting in record label type of studios, but I'm in a studio with people who are very well trained and who have take passion in their craft. In New York, the place is called Sound Studios. They have multiple sites between Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and when like I said, when I didn't even discover them at first. My friend sent it to me, and I don't even think he knew about them when we went. And we just went, and it worked out. And when it worked out, we were happy. We were just like, yo, we like the experience that we had. And every single time I went back, and if, every single one of my friends, at some point, my engineer and I became friends. We were just like, yo, what's up? Yo, you want to go chill? Let's go grab some food. And I think those are important as well. To have engineers and people on your team that you can be open, free, and comfortable with. Because when you're in the studio for hours, there's not much else you're gonna be able to do other than create and just talk. Sitting in silence is one thing, but when you can just make it a comfortable experience for everybody and it's an enjoyable experience, as long as work gets done, shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, but when I stopped going to the studio, it was more so because going to the studio, to a certain extent, I felt like I couldn't be as free with my vocals as I wanted to be. Um, I'm not a person like I like to do the creative portion, but when you're on borrowed time, that is, if you're spending, let's say, $50 an hour, and you're spending, an hour trying to make sure you hit, a specific note or a specific area, that's frustrating because all the songs that you probably could have gotten done, you don't.
Well, you feel rushed too, right?
Yeah, it was something that, and I mean, I've rapped in the studio before, and for me personally, I didn't feel rushed, because I think it's a little easier and it's a little bit more. It's just the execution is a lot different. As a singer, you got to make sure you hit something, like it has to be there. You have to convey this emotion. And if something messes up, you have to do it again. There's no fixing that. You have to do it again. And I know for me, a lot of times, especially, I would do, belting, notes, I would high note and such. And sometimes it wouldn't pick it up properly. So I would have to maneuver myself a certain way, maneuver through, the booth a certain way. Or even when I thought something was going to sound right, it didn't. And that happens. For me, I stopped going to the studio for like a week or two. And I bought the equipment. I was like, I feel so much comfortable doing it here, and I feel like I get it right here. Let me try something. So I recorded in the house, recorded the song, sent it over, and it came out well. And I was pleasantly surprised, pleasantly happy, and I was content with that process. So now what I do is I record a lot of my songs at home, and when I take it to the studio, I'm going to the studio more so to direct my engineer on where I want it to go.
Okay.
So how I want certain things to sound and such. Now I think that process works better for me mostly because now I get to take the time to learn the mix and mastering steps. Show them properly convey my vision. I may not have all the vocabulary that they may, but as long as you can describe it a certain way, you can give examples a certain way, they most likely 9 times out of 10, every good engineer can make sure it happens.
Well,
So
I
for
I like. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you good. Go ahead.
I like that. I like what you're saying because you do record from your house and then you send it
Yeah.
off to a professional to help clean that up. And that for anyone out there listening that wants to do this, they can do this. Like you can
Yeah.
get on your phone and do your recordings, and you can send
Yeah.
that to find yourself, do your research, find a good local engineer to help you clean that up to work with you.
Yep.
Or if you have the time and you're comfortable with it, like Jaw was saying, you can go to a studio, do your research, find what's in your area, what's affordable. But this leads me into one of my questions I like to ask, which is about the financial aspects of everything. As an independent artist, we have to fund ourselves on a lot of
Yes.
our own work. We put a lot of the money into ourselves in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Do you feel with everything you've been doing, with the release of your full EP, your other singles out there, the music in general that you've been working on, what you've learned over time and what you've invested in yourself, do you feel like is it starting to pay off for you, or B, do you feel that the revenue will come in its time?
Um, I'm in the middle actually. I believe that it's more for any artist. I think it's what you make of it. Because you receiving a revenue, I majority of the revenue that most artists get, even big time artists, don't necessarily come from just releasing the music. It's the performances that are getting, the performing it, the streams as well. Of course, if you're like a artist who's making hundreds of millions of streams, in a day or in a
You
month
get
or
ten
so.
dollars.
Exactly, yeah. But like, and that's the thing. It's one of those things where it's all of that, yeah. But when you're an independent artist, it's more about the performances. It's more about getting people to going out there, having people hear you. And in the beginning, you're probably not gonna see what you think you're supposed to see. And it doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you're not going to see it ever. It just means right now, this is the part where you grind. This is the part where you work hard for people to hear you. Your goal at that point, like for me, I know my first two performances, I didn't ask for any pay. I just said I wanted to do it. And they were like, we don't have to pay you. I'm like, you don't know what I'm worth. since you don't know what I'm worth, let me show you what I'm worth. So then when you come by and you ask from somebody, you want a high volume performance like that again, or you want somebody who, or if people ask for me again, like, it's one of those things where it's, oh, we enjoyed this. We enjoyed, Jah Prester, bring him back kind of thing. Then now I can sit there and go, all right, cool, 1K, 2K, this, that, boom, 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 and it'll make sense for you. It's worth, the money. I'm not, Chris Brown. I'm not Drake. So I can't go over there and be like, yo, you know how much I'm worth? Walk off. I can't do that. So for me, and especially being from New York, like I said, I have to prove myself constantly. That's just how the city is. You prove yourself constantly. And with that being said, you know, I like I said, it's what you make of it. For me personally, I think, like I said, I'm in the middle. I receive revenue and pretty good revenue, but I believe that it's more, like I said, of what I make of it. And for me, the revenue isn't even necessarily what I care about per se. It's more about getting a bunch of people to hear me so they can see
Right.
it, they can get to it, and then I could be in different areas so I could get certain types of collabs, because I know if I could get this person on a song like this, the creativity of that song will be something completely different versus, just making a buck off of it.
Well, and I love your process of what you just, well, not your process. I love what you just stated, which
Yeah.
is that, monetary
Yeah.
speaking, you're in the middle, which is fine, and that's actually better than most independent artists because we're usually
Yeah.
low. But I like the fact that you value your creativity, you value your music and what you can do.
Yeah.
So you are making valuable connections by going out and talking to these places and being like, "Hey, put me on for free. You don't have to pay me. I'll give you a show." And then that's a great way of getting the next show where they'll actually offer you what you are worth.
Yeah.
And it makes it a much easier negotiation. And not only that, not only are you opening this door with them, but you're going to open doors with anyone else they work with where they're like, hey, this guy is great. He can do this for you. You need someone, this guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really smart move. And you put in the work and you show them what you're capable of. I think that's really
Yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah. Like I said, I always prefer to make sure that, you know, what you're getting,
Yeah.
and it's something where it's, I like to be direct. I don't sugarcoat. I'm not dancing around. At the end of the day, people do need to understand that it is also a business, but it's also a business in pleasure. So it's one of those things where I'll show you what makes me pleasurable, so then you could go ahead and keep going. Because at the end of the day, you could hear my music, but the performance aspect, making the music and performing is completely different. People forget in the beginning, Summer Walker as a performer, people did not like Summer Walker as a performer. She had social anxiety, granted, and people didn't enjoy that because people would make very ignorant comments and state, "Why make music if you're not going to perform it?" And for her, she understood, I got this record label. I'm gonna need to perform live. I need to get through this. And when she finally did, I've never heard anybody complain about a performance from Summer Walker ever again. Never
Okay.
heard them do it. And it's one of those things where she wasn't prepared for it. And because she wasn't prepared for it and nobody knew what to expect, it was one of those things where it's just like, this is what you give me? Her next couple shows, people did not want to really, you know, entertain it until she did that. She did the one amazing show that everybody sits there and goes, "Yo, she didn't do that at my show. Maybe I'll go back and see her again this time. Maybe she got over that. She was a new artist. Maybe she got nervous. Let's see what she could do now." And
Yep.
when she came back, everybody saw her and everybody loved it. And they continue to. So
And the main
that's
thing is, oh, I'm sorry.
no good.
I was gonna say the main thing is she did it. She
Yeah,
put herself out there.
yeah,
We talk a lot about knowing your worth.
yeah,
You've said it yourself, know what you're worth, but also you state it, and she showed it, is show your worth.
yeah,
And it may not be pretty at first because we also mentioned the whole trial and error of everything. It's
yeah,
a process. It's not like you don't just wake up and go, I'm Drake. It doesn't
yeah.
work that way.
It
Not
doesn't
even
work
with
that
Drake,
way.
it didn't work
Even
that way.
Drake, I
It's
think
like you
what
have to learn.
I think
And you
Drake
got
said
to
it
figure
took him
out
what
what's
6
you.
years. Then he said it took him like 6 years to get famous. I was like, damn, I don't know if I want to wait 6 years. But, you know,
and shit, 6 years is still a short time.
And I'm about to say, yeah.
That's fast process.
And even then, and you know, you get certain success stories. You know, you get the Michael Jackson where he performed that one time and like people were like, oh my God, we love him. And then you get the Ushers where it's somebody found him and, you know, they loved him. And then you get the Chris Browns where it took Chris Brown. People don't know this about Chris Brown. People think his first time in the studio and everything is Run It. You know, when he did Run It with Joe Santana. Nah, he was making music since he was like 13. So it took him 3 years to sit there and go ahead and make it to a record label. And then when the record label saw him, people prior to that went through and said, yo, that kid right there, he can be a star. And everybody sat there was just like, nah, whatever. He's like 15, bro. Like, what are you talking about? He's the next Michael Jackson. Bro, he's 15. I'm not hearing that. Get him in the room with you. I guarantee he's going to be your next star. All right, whatever. Bring the kid in. He came in. They asked him to perform. They asked him to perform. He performed in the room. It's a boardroom, mind you. He performed in the boardroom, worked his way around the room, did everything with everybody. Everybody loved his charisma, his vocals, his dance moves, just everything about Chris Brown, you know, showmanship. They loved it. And it's because of that they sat there and said, yo, you're right. Let's get him a record deal. On top of that, I want the best writers on his first album. I want an album from him immediately. His first couple singles, I needed to be his best. And, you know, that turned into who he is now. You know, it's just, and especially at that time, you couldn't tell nobody Chris Brown, Rihanna, Beyonce wasn't going to be Drake wasn't going to be the next biggest things. And where are they now? The next biggest things. You know, it's something that, you know, you just have to, everybody has their own path, you know, and everybody has their own success story. And you can mimic somebody's if you want to, but there's no guarantee it's going to happen, you know, that way. You should just kind of do what you can, however you can, and make it what you can, when you can.
Absolutely. And make your path. I love
that. And I try my best to make mine.
Nice. So, Jah, I really appreciate you coming on today, sharing your journey through music with us, taking us through the whole process of how you created your new EP, which is Love and Lust, out now on Spotify and all music platforms. Do yourself a favor, go check it out. Support Jah and his music. Hey, just taking a quick break. Hope you've enjoyed the content so far. I know I enjoyed talking to Jah, but he was also kind enough to give us a little sample from his actual album, Love and Lust. This is called Go Back in Time. And of course, this album is streaming right now on Spotify and all music platforms, so go check it out and show some love and support for Jah Prester.
Wait, Medri. You was ready before I even touched on you. I wanna go again, baby. Let me come on in, baby. You can stay for a while. I don't wanna let you go. Girl, I want you to know I've been feeling you. Girl, I've been feeling you. 'Cause girl, you make me want and never get enough of that juicy fruit. I can't get enough. I know that you got things to do, but can we take it back? I wanna go back in time. Girl, you got me. You don't want me. I want you. I don't see you go. Pussy with a slipping, sliding off the floor. Baby, you get a little taste. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Tell me, how long can we make this last, baby? 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, 12, bring it up, 14 now, give me more, 24, girl, that's all I want. 'Cause girl, you make me want and never get enough of that juicy fruit. I can't get enough. I know that you got things to do, but can we take it back? Oh, I wanna go with you. 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, girl, come on, 8 hours, 9 enough, 12, bring it up, 14 now, 24, girl, that's all I want. 1 hour, 2 hours, double it up, girl, come on, 8 hours, 9 enough, 12, bring it up, 14 now, give me more, 24, girl, that's all I
All right, that was Go Back in Time by Jah Preston. It's out now on his new album, Love and Lust. It's streaming. Do yourself a favor, go support him, check it out. And now, back to the conversation. And now we're going to get into the fun questions part.
Okay.
And my first question for you is, as a musician, as an artist that's been creating music for a while now, what has been the biggest challenge that you've had to basically overcome? And it could be something that you're still working on.
I want to say marketing. I think. I think the marketing aspect is the hardest part for me. But I think it's
I
because,
can relate.
yeah, because I think marketing is just something that it's something that I'm not used to. I'm not used to looking at myself as a brand. I'm more so looking at myself as just a person. Like, hey, if I create this, people should just, if it's good, people will find it, people will like it, people, do certain things. But you gotta kind of bring it to them. Like, you gotta put it in their face. And I'm not usually, I'm not a marketer, so it's not kind of one of those things where, I'm on social media all day trying to market something or anything like that. I'm more of like, hey, let me post on social media and get off. Let me look at this funny thing right here, get off. I'm not, it's just, this is not something that I'm used to. So I've been learning that, still learning it. It's a process. Some things you're stronger at, other things you're not. You just got to find your balance.
I mean, yeah, I totally relate to that. I think marketing is a huge challenge for any artist, whether you're a musician, a filmmaker, a writer,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you do. Marketing yourself can be one of the toughest things to
Mhm.
overcome. And me personally, much like yourself, it is something that I'm still actively working on, trying to get better at marketing this show to get you guys out
Yeah.
there, so that more people can hear you and see you and check out your work.
Yeah.
So, um, moving along, you've been doing this for a while. You probably have a rhythm and understanding, you know what to anticipate, but has there ever been something unexpected that you've had to deal with? And it's something that, like, it just happened and you had to learn it right there in the moment.
It's funny. One time I was in the studio, and this is probably not a big deal, but I was being a fool, playing around too much. And I was replaying. I had played my I had muted the beat, and I wanted to listen to myself in acapella, and I was just sitting there musing, enjoying it. And I went to go ahead and replay it to go from the beginning. I wanted to hear it just one more time, like an idiot, instead of pressing, you know, on Pro Tools, you press enter to bring you back to the beginning. Instead, I pressed delete, so it deleted everything. I was
Damn.
angry. I swear I worked so hard on that song. I promise you, we was in there for like 4 hours. I was, I was livid. I was like, it's gone forever. There's no way. There's no way. My engineer comes back from the bathroom. He goes, "Yo, what did you do?" I was like, "So, is there a way we could get this back?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, we just press this." But he sat there and made me sit there for like 5 minutes in distress. He made me sit there in this.
And I learned a
Nah,
lesson.
yeah. He's just like, "Now you know not to touch my shit, right?" I was like, "You're right. I ain't never touching it again." I'm like, "I'm just gonna wait for you to come back." Now that I know how everything works, though, I'm touching everything.
I think deleting your work is definitely something you don't expect to do.
Yo,
And something you learn in the moment is don't mess with the engineer's equipment.
yep, because
They know better.
what I what I was about to cry. I promise you, I was gonna cry. Actually, you know the song that
Well,
was "Real Woman." That was the song that it happened to.
oh wow. I'm glad you got that one
Um,
saved. I'm glad the engineer saved
I
it because that's a great
thank
song.
God, thank God.
Oh man. I wanted to ask you now about these things that are they're facts of
Mhm,
life. It's a reality that you cannot change.
mhm,
It's something that you just have to accept. It's a part of
mhm.
life. It
Yeah.
is. There's no way around it. Nothing like that. So I want to know what's a hard reality for you. Something that you've had to deal with and accept. And it could be something that was discouraging, but you were able to push through it and get it resolved. You figured out how to work with it.
Um, there's two things actually. The first one for me is not everything that's in your head is going to, come to reality perfectly. You could get it as close to perfection as possible, but it's never going to be perfect. Nothing perfect is a myth. It's something that people are, chasing. You're chasing it forever because there's no such thing as perfect. We are, not to get very spiritual, but we're mortal beings. We are people. We are humans. Nothing is ever going to be perfect with us, for us at all. It's about trying to get as close as possible to, perfection, or at least your fantasy. Try to bring it as close as possible. And as long as you could get it, at least 85% there, at least, then you've completed your mission. And at that point, take pride in knowing that you managed to even get to 85% of perfection. Some people can't even sit there and get to 20%, out of, perfection. So that's one. And then the second one is understanding that just because you choose a path doesn't mean it's for you. Um,
It was a tough reality.
Sometimes, and it doesn't mean that you're not talented. It doesn't mean that you couldn't have, flourished there. It just means that path wasn't meant for you. You could probably be better than somebody, maybe as great as someone, but if it's not for you, it's just not for you, and it's okay. There's other paths to get to what you want, but there's also paths that are adjacent. And sometimes when you can get to an adjacent path, you might find peace and happiness there. Neo actually never wanted to be a recording artist per se. He wanted to be a songwriter and continue just writing songs. But people loved his demos, people loved his songs, and they was like, "Yo, if you want to be a world class hit, you go become an artist, go crazy, prove that you're like that, and then from there you just sit back and just write songs for people, live off the money that you had, that you needed at that moment, and then write songs for the rest of your career, and you ain't never got to come back out. And Neo has pretty much done that. Just he did his songs, he made his
That's awesome.
his mainstream songs, and then from there he said, "Cool, I'm gonna write songs for other people." And a lot of his songs, especially in the early 2000s and early 2010s, were written from him. Like a good amount of Rihanna songs, Beyonce songs were just written by him, and he, you know, you can you can find your way through. And there's people like Eric Bellinger. He was a songwriter first, songwriter producer, and then he became an artist. There's ways, and sometimes you just got to discover the different ways that you can. And if those ways still don't work, everybody's good at more than one thing. You find you have something else.
Right. Yeah. No, I like that. I think, one, perfection is a very hard reality to accept because perfection is unattainable. That's why it's called perfection. But getting close to it is something you can achieve, taking happiness and joy and the fact that, like, hey, I got this far and that's good enough for
Mhm.
me. And you can only grow from there is great reality to embrace. And the fact that you said, not every path and what you want to do is the path for you. I think accepting that is a very tough reality for a lot of people. And like you said, just because it's the path that you want, it's not the path that you need. You can still be a musician. You just may not be as strong a musician when it comes to singing or
Mhm.
performing, but maybe you have strengths in writing and playing, engineering. You might be better behind the booth than in front of it. So learn what the path is for you. Because if you're passionate about
Yeah.
this, then you're on the right
Mm.
track. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be exactly as you anticipate it to
Yeah.
be. Yeah, it's a very tough reality, a tough pill to swallow.
Very.
What is the most valuable takeaway that you've gained from this experience in creating your EP, Love and Lust? Something that has helped you grow and improve as an artist.
Um, I would say organization. I would say being able to portrayal, organization, portrayal, and being wise in my decisions. I think when it comes to the aspect of recording, I wasn't very organized in the way that I recorded. I would just do things and hope that it works. And generally speaking, it did. But but I also was aware of what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing. I wasn't organized in what I was doing. I would jump around and just kind of just add things, take things out. I had no rhyme or reason for it per se. That's just how I process things at the time. But when at some point I had an engineer who was like, yo, let me show you something. And he showed me my, the sheet, and he was like, we went from doing ad libs here, and then you jumped all the way over here to go do harmonies over here because you thought about it in that moment. I understand you move fast, probably in the way that you think, but sometimes you got to slow down, process what it is that exactly you feel is important right now that we need to get done. Because at the end of the day, you're we're on borrowed time, and on top of the fact that you're on borrowed time, the spaces that you fill here, you may not be able to fill that area again without messing up what you did here. Be organized in the way you record. And people think, organization is just like desk work and school work and stuff. No, you have to organize every aspect of your life. Every aspect of your life needs some form of organization. And that's what I learned from that. In terms of portrayal, sometimes, in the beginning, like I said, I went to the studio and I realized that I wasn't comfortable doing certain things in the studio that I was at home. So when I started recording at home, I started experimenting with my portrayal. It started experimenting with the way that I conveyed, messages in my songs, or like how I sang something, or even when I write, I try to write something a little differently, use a word that maybe somebody doesn't use naturally in a song, or take something like a caption that I saw. that I really enjoyed. And if I really enjoyed it and I keep thinking about it, then I want to put it in a song where it matches. And I'll try to do that, so it can convey a specific idea. Portrayal is everything in music. And the last one being wise in my decisions, where a lot of my beats come from YouTube. I have beats that aren't YouTube beats. I have beats that um I had somebody specifically create for me, but majority of my beats are YouTube beats. But most people can't tell. And most people can't tell specifically because of the fact that when people think of YouTube beats, people think of like generic sounding beats that everybody can get and everybody sounds like. I, in the beginning of writing, but you couldn't tell me every song that it sounds the same in terms of like their instrumentals and maybe even the way that I wrote them. But as I got better and I started learning and I started researching more, and I guess that's just also the benefit of just taking forever to go ahead and jump into a studio and build a project. Um, I started learning, all right, cool. I like this, channel because this producer created his channel and he's putting this type of stuff out. And because I like the way this sounds, I'm gonna stick beside, that person and keep listening for how they grow. And a lot of the people that I was listening to back in 2018 have grown so much. And I mean so much in the way that they produce their beats. It's just like, honestly speaking, if I was rich and famous right now, I'd probably be like, yo, I'm building my team. You're part of my team. I'll pay you for what you call it, whatever beats that you give off, and this is the percentage you get from every song. Boom, boom, boom. Just building a team of people who where I can sit there, go sit in a room. This is the vibe that I want to do for this project. Brainstorm and just leave the room and let them just create. Because, like I said, I'm very big on creativity. I don't ever want to hinder anybody's creativity. And so far, I'd like to think that I made the right decision so far in terms of my beat selections, song selections, and just the people that I keep around in terms of my um, creative atmosphere. So, yeah, organizing my
Well said.
portfolio, that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's like you took your strengths and your weaknesses and you found a way to organize and structure them to make yourself better as an artist. That's amazing. What did you want out of this project? We talked about the unexpected earlier, things that you had to learn in the moment, but what did you actually expect from all of this? What did you want with Love and Lust?
It's funny because I was asked this recently. Actually, somebody asked me this recently. My mom, actually, my other mom, she was like, she asked me, she was like, I didn't know you released this. I was like, all right, so how did you find out? And she was like, I just searched up your name on YouTube. I knew you made music because I listened to the first two, but I didn't know that you know, released the whole, like album. And she listened to it. Now, personally, me, I don't think she really wanted to hear what I was talking about there, but and but she was like, but when I heard it, I didn't even think of you as like my son. I just heard an artist. And she was like, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want this to go? And I was like, are you asking me for a specific project? Or are you just saying, in general? Because in general, I think it's obvious I want to be an artist. But she was like, no, for this project, like, what was you? And I was like, I just wanted to, A, prove to myself that I could make a project that works, that sounds right, it sounds full, it's worthy of, being out there for people to hear. And then the next part was just being able to do something a little different. Like I said, it's people, guys specifically, aren't really doing much R&B. The ladies are taking over everything: rap, hip hop, R&B, pop. They're everywhere, and and I love them. Go crazy. You know what I'm saying? Megan, go crazy. Summer, go crazy. SZA, love me some SZA. Go crazy. But yeah, I think the guys need to start stepping up their game. And I'm not talking about, people be like, oh, Drake, Kendrick. Chris Brown, Bruno, nah, they've been doing this. It's not for them to do. It's the new people. Where the new people at? Where the new dudes who want to sit there, out sing this girl or make a song with this girl and show, oh shit, you like that. Oh, word, you got it. And it not be about, trapping or throwing money at a girl because that's what she's asking for, tricking or anything like that. It's just when you gonna talk about something genuine. And I wanted to be able to, be like, let me get something genuine. I have songs that are, tricking. I have a lot of money. I got cars. I got this. I got that. I have songs like that. But everybody's writing songs like that. Let me
Right.
just throw something different out there and see what people like, what people don't like, who gravitates to what. Because honestly speaking, the audience that I want to speak to are the people who feel like they can't, and it's because of the fact that I was that person who felt like I couldn't do something until I did it, and when I did it, I found my happiness in it. And people I think should be able to
I
do that.
mean, right. It sounds to me like what we discussed earlier. What you wanted from this is what you said in the beginning, to show your worth.
Yeah,
You know your
yeah,
worth. You know your value. Now you're showing everyone your actual value, what you are worth. You're showing them that you're genuine. This is
yep,
you. And I think that's an amazing thing to want out of your work, especially when you're putting yourself out there. You're literally putting yourself out
yeah.
there. So that's great, man. Um, Tell me what drives you? What motivates you to do all of this?
Um, Easy. I think this is probably like one of the easiest questions that you asked me so far. um, Honestly, I just want to be a make my mom's proud, kind of like, because as a kid I would always do a bunch of just I was class
The class
clown. I was just
clown.
doing stuff, and
She got the reports from the teachers.
boy, did the reports come in. Um, and she always was kind of like, "You're smart. You can get through school." It wasn't you're smart. You can get through school, but I whatever you choose to do, I know you'll be successful in it, is what she used to tell me. And she was like, you have multiple talents. You're very entertaining. You're entertaining in many ways between your art, sing, you like dancing, you're funny, you're kind, you're sweet, you're this and that. Keeps going, she kept going through the list. And being that she wasn't my biological mother at this point, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, you see me and you're really paying attention. And when she passed, when I started writing stuff, it's like the only time that I felt content and okay. I was very sad and depressed for a very long time about it. And it was just like, yo, I wanna what she saw, I wanna be able to put out to the world. Because it was one of those things that I never showed. And I wanna show it. And the next part, I think it's a little selfish. And I think it's a little bit of like, it's probably like one of the jerk things to say, but I just want to put Chris Brown on his ass, just out dancing, out performing, just go to the point where I want to I want Chris Brown to have the same moment Usher had. And it was a story. It's funny. Chris Brown has a documentary that came out mad long ago, like 2017 or something. And I watched it, and essentially Usher got interviewed, and he goes, "Yo, I remember one time we was performing, and like he performed before me. I'm the real star, and he's new, so whatever." But he goes, "But when he was like, yeah, let the kid go, do his thing, boom, boom, boom. Oh, you want an extra 5 minutes? Yeah, let him do his thing, whatever." Like and this is before Chris Brown even started performing, and Usher was talking all this, just talking a lot of smack. He was just talking stuff. Turned around to walk off. He's like, "I don't need to see this." You know what I'm saying? He just hears everybody cheering for him. And he's like, I'm not even on stage. Who they cheering for? Turns around and it's Chris Brown and he's going crazy. and he's watching it happen. And he's like, oh, now I have to go out there and really do my best work because this kid really is showing me up right now. Like that's I want Chris Brown to feel that. I want to be able to go out there and be like, to start wilding out, and he goes, "Oh no, oh, all right, you think you like that? All right, let me show you something." Just so I could be like, you know what I'm saying? It's that I'm a competitive person. Like I don't know if you could, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure you could tell by now. I'm a competitive person. I want to not only be number one, I want you to know I'm number one, and I want you in friendly competition to understand that, yo, what's up, champ? I beat you. I got you, champ.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree with the like I get the competitiveness of it, and it goes back again to that like
Yeah.
showing them who you are. But back to the previous statement you made too with your mom. A lot of people they want to prove somebody wrong. They want to like a lot of people say like what drives me is proving everyone
Mm,
wrong. That like, hey, you doubted me, and here I am. But for you, you want to prove your mother
mm,
right, and I think that's freaking awesome. Like you're like, hey, she was onto something, and now I got to prove it. I got to prove her
yeah.
right. So that's really awesome
Yeah.
too. Uh,
You know what I'm saying?
um,
Do it for mama.
what is what is what is some really good advice that you can share with anyone out there that's looking to do what you do? Anything you'd like to tell anyone
The
listening?
same advice that I took from another artist, T-Pain. Um, T-Pain said that whatever you like, there's 10 other people who like it. Those 10 other people have other 100 people who like it. Those 100 people know thousands, and those thousands know 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. It can become billions easy. Do your thing. Do your thing. Don't try to do somebody else's because you're gonna oversaturate. And once you oversaturate, that level of originality that came from something isn't gonna be there anymore. People love drill music, but drill music is not what it used to be anymore. It's just not. When it came out, it was
Yeah.
there. It was the biggest thing. Everybody started doing it. Once everybody started doing it, oh, it's dead. It's not there no more.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, it's like what the 15 minutes of fame.
pretty much,
Who
yeah,
wants
it's like
that?
that.
You want to be a legend. You want to last a
Exactly.
lifetime.
And for me, if you're a one trick pony at that point, you're done. And that's
Hmm.
why for me, like I said, I like to dabble into different genres. I like to fuse what I'm doing with something else, to do. And at some point, Pop Smoke, even though I don't want to be like Pop Smoke, you know, if you could listen to the beginning of his career, it was first two projects was drill music, drill music. By the time he got to the next one, it was I got R&B influences here. I have pop influences here. I even have Latin influences here. It was something that was cool, and that's the Pop Smoke that people remember. That majority of mainstream people remember. That's the person because he was versatile at that point. It didn't matter whether it wasn't necessarily his voice had to change. He didn't need to sound like somebody new. He could sound like him, just put it on something new. Put it on a new, like a new canvas. You're not drawing the same painting every time. Just put it on a new canvas and see what's up. You keep drawing,
It's great
yeah,
advice.
like you don't want to keep painting on the same canvas. The moment you keep paint on the same canvas, you ruin the picture that was already made.
Right. You want to stand out. So yeah, I think that's great advice. Do your thing. A lot of people always say just do it, but I like that you're like, no, do
No,
your
yeah, do
thing.
your thing.
Do what is
Yeah, do
yours.
yours. Because nobody's gonna be able to do it like you.
Right? Yeah. You're the only one that can. Um, Ja, I really, really appreciate you. I've said it all day, but thank you
Of course.
again for taking the time. Please, this show is about you. It's for the artists, and we've been talking this whole time. But I'd love for you to continue talking some more. Put yourself out there, promote your music, promote your social media
Yeah.
presence for anyone that wants to reach out to you and support you. And of course, if there's anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this all up, say it. Now's the time.
Well, I'm actually going to be working on a project for later this year, around December. It'll
Nice.
be called Letter to Her, so be on the lookout. Be on all streaming platforms, of course. My Instagram at Jah Prester official underscore. I also have Twitter, or X, however you would like to call it, at Jah Prester with two R's. And from there, honestly, check out Love and Lust. It's on all platforms. And, it's 8 songs, not even 30 minutes, so have fun, take your
And
time.
they're good.
Thank you.
uh, Yeah, no, thank you. And of course, everyone listening, all links are in the show notes. So go on, check out the show notes, click on the links, find his music, find his social media, reach out, tell him what's up. Let him know if you liked it or hate it. But either way, he's happy you
I'm about to
listened
say,
to it.
yeah, let me know. Give me all the constructive criticism, honestly. I'm down for all of it.
Yeah, and I want to leave this on a great note, because I really do like what you said about showing your worth. Like, if you want to be a musician, whether it's a writer, a performer, a singer, a hip hop artist, rapping, being a lyricist, put yourself out there and show everyone your worth. Show them what you're valuable, and know your value. So in order to know your value, you got to show it. Make those embarrassing mistakes, make those trial and error moments where you fail and you learn and grow from that, and keep doing what is you. As Jah has been telling us all day, you got to do you, you got to be you, you got to be original. And you can be inspired by others, you can admire others. That's the whole point of this show, is to inspire, because if Jah can do it, you can do it. And again, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Jay.
But to everyone else out there, until the next time, stay golden. Thanks for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please rate and review, like and subscribe. Every little bit helps. And as always, the theme music of the show is provided by the Ericka page. And our brand new graphic designs are all thanks to Quality Artworks. Links are in the show notes. Go support these amazing indie artists just like they support IPA Sessions. And of course, please follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's at IPA Sessions Podcast. And if you or someone you know is an independent artist looking to promote their work or just share their story with us, please hit me up at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, everyone. And I hope you're able to find some inspirations for practical applications and entertainment.